Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan Jarris. I'm an Etsy seller of 6.5 years. I've done $1.3 million in sales on Etsy. And now I'm an Etsy business coach where I teach other Etsy sellers, both beginners and advanced Etsy sellers, how to build multi-six-figure Etsy shops with my course, Multi-Six-Figure Etsy Blueprint. On YouTube, I come to you with a lot of knowledge and content. I'm trying to be straight to the point with tactical and practical ways for you to build your business to be high volume, high revenue, high profit long term. So with my Etsy journey, in my first year of sales, I did $134,000. In my second year of sales, I did $143,000. In my third year, I did $245,000. In my fourth year, I did $360,000, and so forth. So basically, I built my business steadily, consistently, and we do $300,000 to $400,000 a year ever since year 4. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about if I started over from ground zero, and if I wanted to build a business that, did over $1 million in sales, multi-six figures in revenue every year, what would I do? How would I do that? I've come up with 10 key steps to do this. Now, these are just 10 steps. These are just 10 ideas. They're bits and pieces of what you would need to do this. If you're really looking for someone to guide you through a proven blueprint to do this, that's where my course comes in. That's where my program, the Multi-Six-Figure Etsy Blueprint, comes in. So if you want to hear about that, I have a link below where you can schedule a free call with me. And it's not like a recorded webinar. It's actually talking to me on Zoom. And I'll just ask you some questions about your shop or about what you want to do with Etsy. And then I can share with you more about the program and how that could help you. So that is an option there. But today I'm going to talk about 10 steps that I would take if I was starting over completely from scratch. I'm very direct. I don't like fluff. So let's just jump into it. Now, the very first thing you might think, okay, is she going to say print on demand, digital product, physical product, vintage? Like, what is she going to suggest? If I had to start all over from ground zero, I would start a supply business on Etsy. Hands down, a supply business. Now, this is for many reasons. I would want to do something that's very high volume, both in revenue and order count. And I would want to sell something that helps other people make money. It's always easier to sell something that helps other people make money. And I would love to have a B2B type of a customer. So business to business. Also with the supply category, that would be something that I can easily outsource and train people in and hire that out. I can see a path where I could easily buy back my time by outsourcing fulfillment in a very easy, straightforward way. And that would buy me my time back. Hands down, I would start with a supply business. So that's kind of the basis of the shop that I would kind of start. I'm going to give you 10 things that I would do within really any Etsy shop that I'm starting from zero to take it to a multi-six-figure level. So step 1 just speaks to the supply category, but what I would do is identify a product-based business that is becoming more and more popular. So I'm thinking embroidery, I'm thinking laser engraving, I'm thinking of jewelry making, maybe sewing, and I would want to become the go-to destination for one or two handmade product categories. So I don't want to become a Michael's or a Walmart where I'm trying to be, a general craft store. Definitely not the route I would take. But what you want to do is become an authority with certain areas of expertise. So a couple of areas that I would consider if I was starting from zero is maybe something to do with growing plants. So, that whole plant mom thing that's going on. The people who just love growing plants, propagating plants like succulents, people who buy seeds on Etsy, I would consider doing something like that. Or the second route I would take would be starting with the wedding/party decor supply category. Now remember, party supplies, party decor does fit inside Etsy's supply category. That would be another angle I could take. And I do see some opportunity for overlap between the two of those. Number 2, if I was starting over, I would target only profitable customers. And these are customers that are not price sensitive, whose spending habits do not change when gas prices go up, when, their grocery bill goes up. They don't even notice it. That's the type of customer that I would go after. And that way, my livelihood and, the future of my business is not dependent on outside factors in the current economy. But by choosing the right customer, you can really insulate yourself against some of those risks and factors. So if I'm choosing a B2B customer with my shop, I would choose a B2B customer who has a customer who is not price sensitive. It tells me that they are choosing a premium customer and that there's a level of stability built into their business. So if I'm serving a business customer, I would want their customer to be someone who's not price sensitive. Number 3, I would have 30% of my listings when I launch be loss leader listings. And the reason I would do this is to drive up my order count really high, really fast. And that is going to elevate the rest of my listings and get me from that sprinting strategy into that marathon strategy so much faster. So if you're like, what do you mean sprinting strategy? Am I supposed to know what that is? No, this is something that I cover in my program, Multi-6-Figure Etsy Blueprint. I give you the sprinting strategy. I lay it out. It's really scrappy. It's a lot of hard work, but if you want to make a lot of money, it's not going to be easy. But I do give you the steps and the blueprint that I use to make, my first 134,000 in my first 12 months. But the point is that sprinting strategy, that sprinting phase, it's a lot of work and you want to get out of that as quickly as possible. So I would use about 30% of my listings as loss leader listings to drive up my sales number and get myself out of that sprinting phase as quickly as possible. Number 4, I would buy 100 different items. With those 100 different items, I would create about 200 listings. Now, I would not wait to launch my store until I have all 200 listings. I would build, right? I would do maybe 15, 20 listings a day until I get it up to that 200 listing level. So that's 100 different items, about 200 different listings with those 100 items, and I would see what sells within 30 days. Whatever doesn't sell, I would return it. If you're curious about how that process would work, this is one of the scrappy techniques I teach in my program. I go into it really deep there, and I teach you the step-by-step how to do that. I would basically wash, rinse, repeat. Do that on repeat, 100 items to make 200 listings. Whatever doesn't work, return it, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, number 5, if I'm starting at 0, every time something sells, I'm going to create 5 more variations of that thing. So this means different sizes, colors, patterns, materials, 5 different variations of that same thing. Every single sale, treat that as data. And whatever works, do more of that in a slightly different way. Number 6, I would grow my shop to 500 listings by month 3 on Etsy. And you might think, how are you supposed to do that? Like, how do I get all that product ready? How do I get all those listings ready, those designs? Like, how do I come up with all those photos, videos? This is the key. Put the food in the oven before the oven is preheated. Okay, go with me on this. People wait too long. People wait until things are perfect and ready to publish the listing. People wait until they have completely figured everything out about the product, the listing, to get it published. That is severely holding back the speed of their results. This is my style. It drives my husband crazy. When I preheat the oven, I don't wait for it to preheat. I don't have 5 to 7 minutes to wait. I put the food in the oven. I don't claim to be the best cook, but done is better than perfect. And when you are running a business, when you are trying to grow to multi-6 figures fast, you throw up what you have. You get it out there, because if it's not in front of people, there's not an opportunity to buy it. Don't think too much. Put it in before it's ready. Just go. You have to be a little bit manic about it and just throw it up there, and don't worry about perfection. Perfection really doesn't matter. Number 7, if I was starting over at 0, growing to multi-6 figures, I would take a low margin, even selling some items at cost to get through that sprinting phase. In my program, we identify how long the sprinting phase is for your specific business. It really depends on the price points that you have and the type of product and the type of customer that you're going after. Let's say your sprinting phase is 500 to 1,000 sales. Well, until I got to that 500 to 1,000 sales, I would be taking a low margin. I might even be breaking even on some items and selling them at cost, because the value of getting that traction and momentum, that's an asset. So I see that low margin as the cost of doing business. It's the cost of getting momentum. I would take a low margin or sell things, almost at cost, just to get through that sprinting phase. In my business, with my first 134,000, my margins were about 50%, which is pretty good, right? But it was a higher price point handmade item. If I was going back, if I had more time, if I wasn't getting traction as quickly, I would take my margin down to 25%, maybe 15%, just to get things going. And I would see it as the cost of doing business, the cost of getting momentum. All right, number 8, this is something that I did do and that I would do again, is saying yes to every single customer request. I was saying yes to things that I had no idea how to do. If someone asked, can you do this? Yes. I say yes and then I figure it out later. That is a really big key to growing and scaling quickly on Etsy. Say yes to every single customer request and then make a new listing out of whatever that item or that design was. Number 9, if I'm starting over, I would source locally first. And by this, I'm talking about my supplies or my inventory. I would look to local wholesalers before I look online. Now, this is because this helps you build a competitive advantage into the foundation of your business. If you are able to get products and materials that your competition cannot get, because it's not just, on the first 2 pages of AliExpress or Amazon, right? If it's not something that's commonly found at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, you are going to build a competitive advantage into the foundation of your business. If you can have the materials and the products be somewhat unique in your shop and not just something that your competition could also find and mimic from going to AliExpress, Alibaba, or Amazon, you're going to be in a much better position for high growth, and you're going to be able to pull levers to improve your profitability faster as well. So I always would source locally first, and then after you've exhausted your local resources, then I look online. The reason for this is because a lot of local wholesalers, they operate in a very archaic way. They built their businesses prior to e-commerce, and a lot of them are hesitant or reluctant to kind of get into that e-commerce space. So you can find some of the best down and dirty pricing through local wholesalers who are not yet online. You just have to do a little research, look on Yelp. You might be surprised of what's in your area. Number 10 has to do with how to get eyes on your product if you are truly starting at zero. And my number 1 way for this, which is how I got my first $10,000 on Etsy by month 4, is through Facebook groups. I'm not talking about a Facebook page for your business. I'm not talking about your personal Facebook page, trying to get family and friends to buy stuff. Never has been my strategy, never will be my strategy. But what I did and what I would do again is utilize Facebook groups. With this, you are bringing your solution, a product, to people who have a problem and who are looking for the solution that you provide. This is how you get to your warmest leads, people who convert so quickly. This is absolutely what I would double down on. Out of any strategy that you can use to drive traffic organically, the Facebook group strategy is what I would use hands down to get my product in front of people who are ready to buy. So if I was starting off at zero and I was trying to get to $1.3 million, these are the things I would do. Some of them are things that I actually did do. Some of them are things that I learned in hindsight, right? Things through trial and error that I learned work really well to get momentum and traction quickly. So if you are in a position where maybe you are just starting a shop and you're trying to get traction, maybe you've had it open for a year and you're only at like 100, 200 sales and you're like, why isn't this working? Why am I not growing faster? Or maybe you're in a position where, I used to do $40,000, $50,000 a month and now I'm down to like $20,000 a month. I'm slipping. What do I do? How do I get back to where I was? I would love to talk to you. My expertise is building a business that gives you high, consistent, month after month, year after year income. I worked for Zappos, which is owned by Amazon. I worked for Zulily, the flash sale site. So my whole background is in marketing and e-commerce. Those threads are all woven into what I teach. And if you need help, if you are struggling, if you are in any of those places and need help, I recommend scheduling a call with the link below. Let's talk and see what you're looking to do, what your goals are, what problems you're facing, and I can share more about how I might be able to help you. You can find me on Instagram at Dylan Jarvis, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. That would mean a lot. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.